to your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying, ran-fast vertical stems of professors from Penn watching eagles eating prey like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia. Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
I don't call it the off season. I call it the non-playing season.
Is that what you say when people, normies ask you about what you do in the off season? You say it's not the off season, it's the non-playing season.
I don't correct them, but I'll call it the non-playing season.
Okay.
I'll feel like there's the playing season.
The NPO.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends. The NPO is over. We have returned from the first practice of Eagles training camp 2023. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman. Zach, how the heck are you?
Doing great. Excited for this podcast. Thrilled the training camp's here. Thrilled for more regular podcasts. A chance to engage with you, with Ken, and with our audience. So excited for that.
That's right. We're keeping it in the family. We got Kent back producing for now, at least. So we love that. And we got a lot to talk about. We have Nick Sirianni barking, getting mad at his players for pre-snap penalties, a sloppy first day of practice. We've got lots of depth chart notes to get to. We've got Zach's pet project, which is making sure that DeAndre Swift sets the record for receiving yards for a running back in a season this year. We've got a lot to talk about. We talked to Howie Roseman today. We talked to Sirianni. We talked to Jalen Hurts and Fletcher Cox and Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey, A.J. Brown. All these guys. We'll get to it. But before we get to that, we gotta send it over to the Stone Cold Newsman. Zach Berman was on the scene. What's the deal, Mr. Bermo?
The Philadelphia Eagles were back at NovaCare Complex today, like we said, for the start of training camp with an old face returning to the group. Dennis Kelly officially signed his contract at 12 years old, who started his career with the Eagles, notably traded for Dorial Green-Beckham, back where he started in Philadelphia, and was on the practice field wearing number 72. Number 67, of course, is unavailable because of Cameron Tom has that number. So Dennis Kelly back with the team. Devin Allen starts the year on the non-football injury list. Occurred, I believe it's a calf injury, occurred outside the building, presumably when he was running. And
real inverted pyramid here.
No players are on the PUP list. That means Derek Barnett is healthy enough to play. He was limited at practice. We'll get to the injury report as we always do, but that makes the news segment today. Also worth pointing out here is that Matt Leo, who read Bo Wulf's outstanding report. Bo does all the players on defense, all the players on offense, and special teams.
It is really outstanding.
And it came out on Monday. And Bo noted how Matt Leo is one of the interesting storylines of the summer because he no longer has his international pathway exemption this year. So Matt Leo presumably read that and decided to retire from the NFL, which is what he did. He is on the reserve retired list, but he's still with the team. Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia reported that Matt Leo is transitioning to coaching. So you saw him there. Kind of looked like a bigger Connor Barwin from a distance. And
we'll buy a basketball team.
With that, the Eagles also signed Deon Cain. Deon Cain is with the team for
from Lois and Clark, of course.
Summer. What's that?
From Lois and Clark.
I see what you did there. So that's the news from NovaCare. We will get to everything that happened in between. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
I mean, I feel like this is if I had opened the show talking about Matt Leo and Deon Cain, you would have been like, we talked to Howie Roseman today. We talked to Nick Sirianni. We talked to Jalen Hurts, and you're leading with Deon Cain? And you're going that
I
way.
didn't know you were pitching to the newsman. There wasn't really hard news to report from Nick and from Howie.
The newsman.
What's that?
We always start with the newsman.
But that's with the hard news. This player is in, this player's out. They signed him, they traded him, and there wasn't as much hard news from Nick and Howie. Actually, the Eagles have compared to other NFC East teams, a relatively quiet training camp. The Giants have contract extensions and
Yeah, boy, are they doing smart stuff.
Keeping Cowboys have holdouts. The Commanders have been sold, and the Eagles show up. And
who bought the
Commanders? Getting a question in the press conference. So so here we are.
Who bought the Commanders?
Well, a number of people in a group led by Josh Harris, includes Magic Johnson.
The Sixers guy?
Yeah, he's part of the group that owns the Sixers as well.
How's that going to work?
I think you can circle back to April's pod or May's pods for that.
All right. Let's get the things that you mentioned before. The transactions they made, you talked about. Injury wise, only Devin Allen is out. Hassan Reddick has a little bit of a tight groin that's going to keep him out probably until early next week. And then you've got Avonte Maddox and Derek Barnett, who are both limited today. That was the extent of the injury report, as you said. Pretty healthy for the team. What do you make of the Hassan Reddick thing? You think there's like a bit of a pay this man his money before I get on the practice field thing going on?
It's certainly something to monitor. Now, he outperformed his contract last year, but he did sign. I mean, it's pretty rare to renegotiate a deal after 1 year, right? So if you look at how edge rushers are paid, you look at Hassan Reddick's production, Hassan Reddick deserves more money. But again, it's the contract that he's on, that he signed last year. I don't know if there's anything to it. We will certainly monitor. I don't want to ascribe something that I don't have information on yet, but certainly something to see here. Okay. Certainly something to watch here, rather.
I think before we get to the Quacktus report of training camp, let's talk a little bit about what we heard from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. And I thought that this was like a little bit less interesting than usual, right? Like there wasn't a lot to ask Howie or Nick relative to usually when they talk. There are a lot of things to ask him about. I mean, you're asking Howie about running back contracts, getting paid, and all this stuff. There's not that much going on.
Yeah, I mean it's probably the way the team likes it, right? It's what I referenced before when things are good and they're decidedly good right now. There aren't these like hot button issues, so there were a lot of questions that referred to coming off the Super Bowl loss. I had a story on Monday about that. I do think that's, from a big picture perspective, something to monitor this season. And we can discuss the conditions that factor into it. Nick Sirianni has done a study on it, or he had his coaching staff do a study on it. There was conversations about the roster composition compared to 2017. If you remember, they were so banged up in that 2017 training camp, and then they signed a lot of old guys who were banged up quickly into the season, and that's not the case this year. They don't really have players coming off that many major injuries, like we've said. No one on the PUP list, and then they signed mostly young guys or guys in their mid-20s in terms of the acquisitions. So yeah, it's calm waters right now, and you don't often ask, how calm are these waters, right? That's not really a headline. I hate to say that the news industry kind of goes off of conflict, but there's not a lot of conflict, if you will, at Eagles camp, and that is decidedly a good thing for the Eagles. And
it's early. There's going to be plenty of conflict. It's day one.
Yeah, and as camp comes along, storylines come up, good or bad, right? Like not just I'm not just saying conflict. There might be players that emerge. There might be standout things. But look, the Eagles took care of their family business, if you will, when they signed Jalen Hurts back in April, right? There's no lingering contract here. The Chargers signed Justin Herbert yesterday. In Cincinnati, there's questions about when Joe Burrow is going to be signed. You don't have that with the Eagles. You don't have the headlining players coming off major injuries like you do in some other places. You don't have any major contract things that we know about now, right? So yeah, it's calm waters at NovaCare.
How about Jalen Hurts? What did you learn from him when he spoke after practice?
Well, Jalen Hurts he likes to be in a place where they maximize every part of his skill set. But no, Jalen Hurts.
And I am embracing the uniqueness of my game.
Well, I know I know you were quoting Jalen, but the same can be said about you. I think the past 2 days was an example of that, by the way.
Okay.
Make sure you check out those stories on The Athletic. Jalen Hurts, I was curious to find out if he had watched the quarterback documentary or docuseries on Netflix.
Watch it. I live it.
And he said he did not. And then he added in that he actually turned down the opportunity to be featured on it, both last year and this year. He said that he did not rule out appearing in it sometime in the future. He said the time will come. There's a lot of the journey to be told, and there's a lot yet to unfold that will be told one day. So those are prophetic words from Jalen Hurts. He said, if you want to go write something, say it's about setting the identity of the team, finding what it would be, because it's different from year to year. And then asked what he wants the identity to be this year. He simply said, whatever wins. Simple as that.
It's going to be tough to write.
Yeah. So I don't quite know what
more of a
identity
tweet.
he wants me to write. He wants me to write about them finding an identity that is about whatever wins. So it's a short article.
How do you feel about this whole X thing? Twitter X.
Twitter. I mean, I'm not privy to the discussions that I thought Twitter had a strong brand as it was, right? But I mean, Elon Musk knows more about business than I do, so I imagine there's got to be rhyme or reason.
Like go around, floating Elon Musk, giving him credit.
I don't think it's bold to say that the founder of Tesla, that someone who's had the business success that he's had, knows more about business than I do.
I'm just saying, just because a person is accomplished and very rich doesn't mean that they know what they're doing.
I mean, I don't know. I listened to a really good interview.
There are also different types of businesses.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not privy to what he's specifically doing at Twitter. I think that I thought.
Have you found the changes have made your experience on the website or app better?
No, I have not. To be honest with you,
I appreciate the honesty.
So again, though, it's not commanding a lot of my time. I try to use Twitter to share my stories, to share Eagles information. But
have you been dipping your beak into Threads?
Yeah, I signed up for it and trying to get it into my daily habits. I admittedly am not reaching the same volume of people on Threads that I am on Twitter. So from what my purpose is, which is to spread my stories and my information, it's far more effective to do so on Twitter right now. But we'll see what happens.
I'm not signing up for Threads.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, no thanks.
Why not?
You got to link it to your Instagram. I don't need more like Zuckerberg hands in my life. Okay, I'm fine. I don't need it. I don't need that. Now I am on Blue Sky, although I'm not a super active user at the moment. I gotta see if there's
what's going on Blue Sky. Can you tell? I don't have it on my phone.
Very there's like it's like 4 different people whose tweets I'm always seeing and stuff on Blue Sky. It's a nice user experience, but it's like all like Luke O'Neill, David Roth, and somebody and Ben Collins. That's like all I see.
Okay. Nice.
There you go. Okay. Anything else?
I'm trying to figure out who is like the NBC Ben Collins. Okay. Okay.
Now, what else did you learn from the other people who spoke after practice before we get
Yeah,
to
so
the
Fletcher
questions?
Cox, this was our first time speaking with him since he re-signed with the Eagles. And I asked him about his first real opportunity to be a free agent, right? He had that kind of day and a half in 2022, but it really seemed like there was almost a wink deal when the Eagles released him to bring him back. But this was a chance when he actually hit the open market. And I asked him about that. He says it was a lot of things. He wanted to make sure he made the right decision for himself, make sure it's where he wanted to be. And he said, quote, I didn't want to go nowhere. I thought about it. There were offers on the table, but I wanted to be here. That's where I am now. Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, they all spoke about when did they.
I was going to ask you this.
The
How do you
core four.
how do you feel about the core four just coming up out of nowhere as a name for these guys? Like,
So yeah, that's why I found it interesting. So it was
it's just stolen. Like,
yeah, because I do remember it might have been the New York Post last year or New York Daily News. I don't mean to conflate the two tabloids. But there was a story about these guys and it was comparing them to the core four of the Yankees, right? You know, your Jeter, Posada, Pettit, and Rivera.
I was trying to think for the fourth.
Yeah,
okay.
and Rivera. And I didn't know that made its way to Philadelphia.
It's
And neither did Jason Kelsey either. He was like core four.
It's not a thing. It's like you can't just make that up.
I mean, it is rare to have.
I respect the effort, but
Yeah.
how about a new name? Like,
yeah, it is. It is rare to have four guys with the same team throughout their entire career for more than a decade. You know, it occurred to me that this is my 12th year covering the Eagles. I'm starting year 12, and you know that's a fairly long tenure. And there are players on the team who've been there longer, right? So that's a rare thing that I think Eagles fans should probably appreciate, because I don't know if there's going to be a situation again where you'll have four guys who are with your team for a decade plus.
all right, let's figure this out. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, but those were a lot of the questions. I did ask questions about how healthy they were. I mean, that jumps out to me because there are so many camps where guys
You're really
are
trying to jinx them.
No, injuries are inevitable, right?
Wow, you guys are so healthy.
I'm curious, and look, it's come up because I've been asked in various radio interviews and whatnot about like their practice schedule and how can you be ready for the season when you take this many days off? And
how can we be doing this again a year later after we did it last year and they went to the Super Bowl and we're very
That's what
healthy.
I say. Yeah, and I'm not saying it's like cause and effect.
How short are our collective memories?
Yeah. But this idea that you need, you know, I was driving into work and I heard them talk about like how practice used to be with the 2-a-days. It doesn't really happen that much in the NFL anymore, anyways. Now the Eagles are. It is even more abnormal than usual. Nick Sirianni said the amount of days off they have are actually the byproduct of when the preseason game falls. Right? They probably want to simulate what a normal week schedule is leading into that Saturday preseason game. Nonetheless, they I think they get the benefit of the doubt based on the way last season went. What kind of cup is that, Bub?
It's a Medieval Times plastic cup. I'm drinking some water out of.
Oh, okay. When were you at Medieval Times?
No, it's been a while.
Okay, but you saved the cup.
Yeah, big Medieval Times fan.
There you go. Which one? The one by MetLife?
Of course.
Okay.
Delightful. I've only been to one other one, the one in Maryland. But the Lindenhurst one, beautiful. What a time. All right, let's figure this out, Zach. Who's Jeter? Probably Kelsey.
Kelsey, yeah, Kelsey would be Jeter.
The gravitas, the captain.
Sure.
Okay. Now, who's Rivera? Marissa is going to be geeking out about this conversation.
Rivera would be Lane, probably.
I think it's Lane. Like he's the best at
what he does. Yes,
yeah.
Jinx. Yes.
Okay. Now, Pettit and Posada, who's who? I feel like Pettit is probably Cox and Posada is probably Graham because it's not a great analog,
Yeah.
but I feel like Posada is more beloved, like as for that specific franchise than he is respected around the league. And maybe Pettit's impact was a little bit more at his best. I don't know. You want to take the opposite argument?
No, I will grant you that. I would probably
I guess
compare it more to the I would compare it more to the Phillies core four.
Oh, another core four.
Which if we're going with the core four, which is obviously Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, and Cole Hamels.
Okay, and who's who?
So Kelsey's probably Utley in that group.
Yeah.
I would say that Lane.
Good point in the comments. Maybe Pettit is Lane because they both have been tapped for juicing.
Let's see. Lane is probably. I would say Cox is probably Rollins in that he's like really good. Probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves.
Okay.
Howard is. I'd say Howard's Lane, and then Hamels is Graham.
Okay. That's pretty good. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to the depth chart stuff before we get to what actually happened at practice. And we can sort of run through this. Now, I think there are probably 4 positions where you might say the starting spot is up for grabs. If you include running back, I probably wouldn't even include running back because it's going to be a committee anyway.
Sure.
And Sirianni said before practice, like, you're going to see Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell and Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift and Trey Sermon all working with the 1s and 2s and 3s, and they did. We saw that today. All 5 of those guys were with the 1s. So I think that's fine. I think you've got 3 other spots. Right guard, we know, obviously, and Nick Sirianni said it's not quite the same. It's Cam Jurgens today. He's getting the first shot. We'll see how it goes. So I am curious to see whether this is going to be like it was 2 summers ago at left tackle when Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard switched off every single day until Dillard got hurt and Mailata won the job. Or if it's going to be like last summer when Isaac Seumalo was installed as the right guard from day one and never took another rep. Nobody else ever took a rep there. So I'm curious to see how that goes. It was Jurgens today. Tyler Steen, the rookie, was the second team right guard. He had a tough 2-play stretch of pre-snap penalties, but impossible to see today other than that. And then you've got linebacker, where aside from Nakobe Dean installed as the guy in the middle, it's Nicholas Morrow or Christian Ellis. And we can talk a little bit more about Christian Ellis, who had another interception today and was rotating with the first team defense with Nicholas Morrow. So a player to watch. And then at safety, you've got what looks like 3 guys for 2 spots. Today with the 1s, it was Terrell Edmonds and Reed Blankenship, and Sidney Brown was all the way down with the 3s for now, which I don't think is a big surprise for a rookie to have to work himself up. Kayvon Wallace and Justin Evans were the second team safeties, but we will see how that plays out over the next couple weeks. So any surprises to you with the first team depth chart?
None whatsoever. Now, I suppose the slight surprise would be Christian Ellis being as high up as he was, but not too surprised by that. We talked about how linebacker is probably the least stable of all the positions. I expected Cam Jurgens to get the first shot, and you asked if it's going to be comparable to the left tackle competition of 2021, and I don't think it's going to be a one-on, one-off thing. Now, I was about to say that maybe on these veteran days that Kelsey gets, that's when Steen gets his first team reps. I don't know how many veteran days there will be because those veteran days might just be the walkthroughs, right? So, no, I think this is going to be Jurgens' job to lose, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Jurgens gets it.
Who plays more snaps on defense this year, Christian Ellis or Nicholas Morrow?
I'm still saying Nicholas Morrow, but
I'm gonna say Ellis.
Okay. Probably so.
We'll see what happens. I mean,
I don't have
who
a
knows?
strong, I don't have a strong opinion on it, especially when Christian Ellis keeps getting interceptions. It's like they don't see him,
Now
right?
the interception today was not like the leaping, really nice grab he made in the spring. This was Marcus Mariota made just a terrible pass in the end zone.
Yeah.
That, no offense to you, but you could have intercepted.
Why would I be offended by that? Wouldn't I be complimented by that? Like that I could have intercepted it?
Yeah,
You
but
mean
I'm
it was so
saying it.
easy
I'm
that
saying it,
even
yes.
I could have intercepted it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know though. You know, it was from what, 8 yards away. I'm sure it had some mustard on it.
But that was the thing. It didn't even have that much mustard on it. Very bad throw. Bad day of practice for Marcus Mariota today, I thought.
Yeah. Give him time. He'll be all right.
We'll see. Okay. Elsewhere, second team offensive line, just to get it out there. You got Roderick Johnson at left tackle. However, Dennis Kelly was not really participating fully in practice, and he was watching very closely in individual drills the left tackle position. I think he is here to be that left tackle. We talked about it in the spring. That's we talked about it a week ago. That's the number one concern, like depth-wise for me. And then they went out and signed Dennis Kelly. So he has been more of a right-sided player traditionally in his career, but it seems like that may be his focus here. You had Sua Opeta at left guard, Brett Toth at center, Tyler Steen at right guard, and Jack Driscoll at right tackle. Let's see if I can do the third team off the top of my head behind them. You had Fred Johnson at right tackle. You had Cameron Tom at center, Julian Good-Jones at left guard, Tyrese Robinson at right guard, and Trevor Reed at left tackle, which meant that Chim Okorafor is the guy who did not have a spot today, along with Dennis Kelly.
Bo. This is the Bo hour. I gotta say, Bo at practice, it's like when a dignitary comes.
You don't need to do this every time.
It's true. You got people coming up. You got like Eagles Hall of Famers coming up to you. You know, it's not the other way around.
Me
right?
and Harold Carmichael are very tight.
Yeah, and I think Mike Quick at one point, right?
Yeah,
they get excited to see you. I mean, that's what
nice guys.
No, it's like when a dignitary comes. You know, it's like the practices when Bob Brady's there. You know, that's what it's like when you're there. So, yeah.
Defensively, Zach, let's go to linebacker, where we said it was Morrow and Dean, but Ellis rotating in. Then you had Ellis and Sean Bradley with the twos, and Davion Taylor and Ben Van Sumeren with the threes, and Kyron Johnson back on the edge, not working as an off-ball linebacker today. So maybe that was just something they did in the spring. We will see. We talked about safety. At corner, no Avonte Maddox today. So Zach McPherson got the crack with the first team at nickel. Josiah Scott rotated in as well. He was otherwise the second team nickel. With the twos on the outside, you had Greedy Williams and Josh Jobe. And then with the threes, it was Keely Ringo, and then a rotation between Mekhi Garner and Eli Ricks. And I will say, we are very far away from proclaiming a Bo Wolfcamp crush. Good first day for Mekhi Garner, I would say. Around the ball a little bit.
You know who was a Mekhi Garner fan? Shil Kapadia.
Oh, was he the one who had the demonstrative celebration in the spring, and that's what Sheil liked?
Yeah, Sheil said to me, what can you tell me about? Yeah, Sheil said, what can you tell me about Mekhi Garner? And I gave him the 30-second elevator bio, that you get. So, yeah, Sheil and you are on the same wavelength again.
And then Tristan McCollum, the third team safety with Sidney Brown. And now defensive line, a little bit interesting, because you didn't really have Jalen Carter with the ones. He started actually with the threes and then worked his way up and got some reps with the twos against the ones. It opened up. Now, again, no Hassan Reddick. So they were bouncing between even and odd fronts. With the even fronts, it was what you would expect. Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham. Although you might not have expected Jordan Davis to be getting those snaps with the even man fronts. That was a little bit interesting. And then when they went to the odd fronts, Davis was inside. Milton Williams came on the field. You had Janarius Robinson working in on the edge. Kentavious Street with the big fellas inside, and then Carter, I thought, made a couple nice plays actually, and sort of blew up one play in a competitive team drill, the 2s against the 1s. He sort of got past Landon Dickerson and had like a quote unquote sack that sort of killed the play.
Yeah, Janarius Robinson's the guy who, when you come to practice and you're just watching between snaps, you're like, whoa, who's that? Yeah, like he jumps out to you in terms of the body type on the edge, very Josh Sweatish, but he didn't jump out in between this, when the ball was snapped today. Well, it'll be a long summer. We'll see. I thought Josh Sweat had a good day.
I didn't particularly notice him very much, but I wasn't watching him closely.
And then Jalen Carter, he had on the last period. Well, we'll get to that. We're just doing depth chart notes right now.
I think we're at the end of depth chart notes, don't you?
Okay. Yeah.
You want to talk about who the punt returners were, or you're good?
We're good. Oh, we're good. And you can read all about this on Bo's practice observations, which will be up any minute.
All right. What were the actual action today? What were the big takeaways for you? Aside from, I thought the biggest thing was that one period where it was the 2s on the field in a 2-on-2 or team drill, 2s versus 2s, red zone drill, and they had one pre-snap penalty, then another pre-snap penalty, and Nick Sirianni gets on the bullhorn and is really angry. He's talking about that what happened is a defensive lineman had jumped across and no offensive lineman reached out to touch him. He's like, why is nobody touching him? Like, pre-snap penalties, this is how you lose games. And then on the next play, another pre-snap penalty, this one on the defense that was offsides. That was actually Janarius Robinson. And now Nick Sirianni is even madder. Like, how do you lose to bad? This is how you lose to bad teams. Like, just furious. And it was very funny given the perception of a Nick Sirianni training camp after he does this. One of the fans who was like standing next to me goes, "Love it, coach." Like the thing that he came for was just to see a concussion uncle yelling at these players. Like, that's what they're really here for. And then on the next play, there was another pre-snap penalty that was flagged, but did not get the playoff. Anyway, I think it is all about Nick Sirianni. He said before practice, the only goal is to get better every day, and I think it's a good reminder that, like, start a training camp, you're nowhere yet. Like, they got a long way to go, and they were pretty sloppy today.
Agreed. First day, yes. So you asked what jumped out in terms of the play out there, disregarding, like you mentioned, Sirianni.
Let me just write something down before you say something. I want to see if I can predict what you're going to say.
I know you're going to predict it. And look, I called it last year. I'm not going against my eyes. Okay. When my eyes see here, James Bradbury.
That's
really
not
good.
what I thought you were going to say.
And then DeAndre Swift catching the ball out of the backfield. Yes.
Now I'll tell you one thing. James Bradbury did look great today.
Yeah. So I just want to say, you go back to the 2019 training camp, and you're making fun of me for gassing up Josh Sweat, and here we are. Josh Sweat's a Pro Bowl player, and last year you're making fun of me for gassing up James Bradbury, and James Bradbury is second team.
You skipped 2 years in the middle there, so there must have been something.
There's probably players in there that I was right on as well. You have your camp, like, you pay attention to the bottom of the roster, the obscure. Okay,
that's true.
I'm more focused on like the guys who are going to have material effect on something. Okay, all right.
I think if I can maybe unfairly defend myself, I think the Sweat thing was much worse. The Bradbury thing, I was not saying he's not having a good camp. I was just saying he's been in the league long enough. Like, let's see how it actually goes. You turned out to be right. The Sweat thing, I was just wrong about. I didn't think it was going to be that good.
Because what I try to do is eliminate preconceived notions, right? Like, I take away all the narrative before, and it's like when you're grading a paper and you don't look at the name there, you just look at the paper. Okay.
Well, I've never been a college professor like you.
You're not, but you'd be a very good one.
I don't think that's true.
And then, I thought Swift looked fluid catching the ball out of the backfield. Now, the caveat is this time of year, like those players
Yes.
tend to jump out more because these are still glorified passing camps, right? So you don't get ahead of yourself, and then but I follow up what I didn't say that on the last podcast out of nowhere that he's going to have an effect in the passing game, because I do believe he's going to have an effect in the passing game. And I think what you saw today is why. I think he's very fluid in space, catching the ball out of the backfield. He's a natural pass catcher, I think. So I liked what I saw there. Again, I don't want to just play the highlights, but it seems like every time I write down Tyree Jackson's name, he's catching the ball in the back of the end zone, like right by the upright.
That's true. That is his spot.
Yeah.
But it's also, of course, that's when you're going to be writing his name down.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But it's like it's never like a pass streaking down the sideline or something like that. Or it is. I did think there was a red zone drill where Goddard caught a touchdown, and I thought back. I doubt you listened to it. Dallas Goedert was on Part of My Take this offseason, and Goddard said something to the effect of Jalen Hurts rushed for his touchdowns last year, and he told them that he's good in the touchdown department, like running the ball. He wants to get them passing touchdowns this year, and I don't know if he was just trying to be funny or if they like actually had a conversation that Jalen needs to throw the ball to them in the end zone more so they can, beef up their stats. But certainly, Dallas Goedert, I think Dallas Goedert's going to have a huge year as long as he stays healthy. And he was on the way last year. He got hurt. He actually didn't make the Pro Bowl ballot because of it.
The only reason he's going to have a huge year is because he doesn't have to go up against James Bradbury. He's getting locked down by Bradbury today.
Yeah, I was listening to actually Shield.
One-on-one.
I was listening to Shield yesterday on Ryan Russillo. They were doing the best players by positions, and I think they had him. It's maybe the fourth best tight end in the league or thereabouts. I mean, he's going to have a real good year, I think.
I mean, we don't have to, I don't know that like Ryan Russillo knows more about tight ends than you do.
No, but just it was fresh in my mind because
I'd venture to say you know more.
I would like to think so. Sure.
Okay. So how would you have him?
I haven't done tight end rankings,
Okay.
but I think they need to put a little more credit to Kyle Pitts. I think there's like
Kyle Pitts.
I think Kyle Pitts is going to be really good this year. Speaking of the Falcons, by the way,
Isaiah Simmons. Yeah, I mean, I would have Goddard fourth. I think that's fair.
Yeah. No, I would agree. There was I think he's up there for number 3 potentially even.
It depends on how healthy Kittle is, right?
Yeah. People want to know your reaction to Arthur Smith's mustache.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you for making this such a big part of my life.
I actually don't think I did. I think listeners did.
No, this is all you. I don't have any reaction. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, I'm not growing a mustache.
Have you considered it? Have you ever had a mustache?
Only as a joke, like if I have grown a beard and I'm shaving and I save a piece of a mustache just to take some funny pictures. But yeah, that's about it.
And what does Rachel say? Is she a fan of that or?
Oh, she thinks I'm so funny.
Okay.
Where were we?
You asked me about players who stood out, and I mentioned that Tyree Jackson had the touchdown in the back of the end zone.
I want to talk about. I want to respond to DeAndre Swift a little bit.
Sure, fire away.
So I think it's notable that like the things that they were installing on day one of camp, I thought there were 2 things that were interesting. One is that there were a lot of quarterback run plays, and this goes to the embracing the uniqueness of my game. There were a couple easy touchdown runs for Jalen Hurts, but also for Marcus Mariota. And then, there were like 4 straight passes to DeAndre Swift. Now, most of those were with the second team offense. But I think that's what he's here to do is to be their receiving back out of the backfield. We have talked about it before. I wrote about it in the piece that's on the site today on the rundown of the offense. I was even a little bit surprised at just how bad they were at throwing to running backs last year. And not only were they threw it to running. No, well, I know, Zach, but you haven't talked about all of these things. They threw it to running backs less often than any team in the league. But they were also, when they did throw it to running backs, they were the second worst team in the league.
Yeah.
So in terms of, EPA per play on those plays. So that is an opportunity for the offense to get a lot better. And as you have said, if Dallas Goedert and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are all healthy, it's not like you're going to be force feeding the ball to DeAndre Swift, but in lieu of adding another impact receiver or tight end, it makes sense that that's an area for them to improve on. I just don't think that, I think what you said earlier is right, that like he is the kind of player who should look good right now. And if he doesn't look good and dynamic right now, that's a red flag. But I am not ready to say like he's going to lead the team in carries and is going to be like the bell cow for the offense. I think we've got a long way to go for that.
Yeah, no, I think that they are going to have a committee. I do think he's going to catch the ball quite a bit, and I think today there's two things I've said about this offense. Well, I've said a few things about this offense throughout the offseason, but two of the things I've said is that Jalen Hurts is still going to run the ball quite a bit because they're going to lean into what Jalen does well, and that they're going to throw the ball to the backs this year. It's going to be, I think, an extension of their running game, to use that expression. I think you might see fewer running back carries and more passes to the running back. I don't think these catches are going to come at the expense of Devontae, AJ, and you would
think there's going to be fewer running back carries in general, just because they don't figure to play in as many blowouts, right?
Exactly, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not going to have these second halves where they have 5, 6, 7 pass attempts, right? There's going to be more of those. I think they're going to, it's an obvious thing in football. They're going to try to get into more second and manageable situations. They can do that, obviously, with a 6-yard pass to Swift, 8-yard pass to Swift. So, I think Swift's going to have a big year catching the ball, and I'm not going to back down from that. I thought that going into practice. I think that even more now.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't overweight the value of one practice.
No, but we're literally doing a podcast after the first practice. I can't talk about the next 8. I can only talk about the one we observed.
We have so long to have the Jalen Hurts running conversation. I don't want to belabor it right now, but like, I'm sorry. If it's week 3, you don't need to have Jalen Hurts running the ball 8 times. Like, this team needs to be playing the long game. And I'm a little bit worried about it. That's all.
I'm curious if you'd rather be like an evaluator or a forecaster, right? When you're saying, and I'm curious from the not to get deep here, from a consumer perspective, do you like the evaluations or do you like the forecasts of it? In other words, do you like when someone tells you what they think the team should do, or what they tell you, or when they tell you what they think the team's going to do?
Well, it depends on my opinion of the evaluator.
Sure. Okay.
If it's like I'm doing fantasy football research, then tell me the forecast, give me the prognostication. But if it's someone whose opinion I trust, and who has proven to have a good feeling for things, then I think that matters more.
I tend to stick more to the forecasting, is what I'm saying. Like this is what you can expect. Like, not this is what I would do, but this is what I think they're going to do.
Sure. Okay. It's your mock draft versus your big board.
There you go. That's a better way of framing it. Yes.
Anything else on offense that was interesting to you?
Mariota did not have a particularly good day.
He did not.
Yeah.
He looked bad.
Yeah, he's
he's been around long enough that one practice is not a big deal. But he looked bad.
Yeah.
First time really getting eyes on Tanny McGee. What'd you think?
On Tanner McKee?
Yeah.
He's tall. I mean, they're all tall to me, right?
Yeah,
But when he stands next to Ian Book when they're watching drills, you can see he's all of 6'6". I didn't have a full
so he's splitting reps with Ian Book with the third team, so they're both getting time. He's better than Clayton Thorson and Carson Strong. I'm willing to say that right now.
Okay. Don't have much on the offensive line. I'll read your practice observations to pick that up.
There's not much in there from today's practice. There were no one-on-ones or anything. Today's practice was mostly red zone. Well, it was all red zone work, team drills, and 7-on-7. So, on defense, we talked about Ellis. That was not the world's greatest play, but he continues to be around the ball. That's nice. I'm trying to think what else stood out.
The last series, Jalen Carter penetrated. He was in the quarterback's face, and that's what you want to see from Jalen Carter. Like I know there's going to be these stories that come out. I don't mean to throw water on them about like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. It was one day. Yeah, the team's excited about Jordan Davis in year 2. The team's obviously excited about Jalen Carter. They drafted him number 9 overall. It was one day, and it was 58 minutes today, right? So that said, I think the depth chart notes are interesting with Davis. I'm real curious to see how Davis looks as a pass rusher. I'm more bullish on him as a run stopper than I think you've been in some of your writing. And I get that. Last year, they actively sought to upgrade that after the injury. Jimmy Kemsky was asking a line of questioning today to a few people that's similar to what you wrote about actually yesterday, where you wrote that defensive tackles historically take a longer time early in their careers. And with that, expectations should be kept in check for Jalen Carter. But I also think that's evidence of why like we shouldn't have a full conclusion or a strong conclusion on Jordan Davis after last year. I still think there's so much talent and want to there.
Well, I don't know about the want to.
Okay.
I don't think anybody. We don't know about the want to. But
okay.
I mean, are you definitively here to say that he has elite want to?
I'm not saying he has elite want to. No, I don't know that. But I think he's.
I mean, I feel like I'm a little bit lower than consensus. What you're saying. I'm mostly preaching patience and caution, like for the reasons that we talked. Like it is a position that takes longer, but I was not like blown away by his impact in the running game last year. Their numbers were better when it was Linval Joseph on the field than they were with him. And I think that speaks to his particular skill set, being a dominant, run defender, if that is what he is not necessarily worth of the 13th overall pick. If it's a thing that you can sign in the middle of the season and get, good production from, if that's the value of that, it's a little bit more about the resource allocation. And if, the night he was drafted, Howie Roseman said, if he doesn't turn into a good pass rusher, this is not a good pick, basically. And so there is every reason to think that we need to wait for that to see if it's going to show up or not. We can talk about the defensive tackles in recent history who have all taken until year 3 or year 4 to pop. But this is also a guy who played, and we don't have to get back into the Georgia defense conversation, but he played for 4 years in college and never had pass rush production, and he didn't have any last year. He didn't have a lot of opportunities either, and I don't know how many opportunities he's going to have this year, but it's just like this is something that's going to take some time either way.
I hear you. My pushback to that is whenever you bring up they signed someone off the street who was better than him, you make it sound like they signed Rohit Verma or Jim McHugh. Those are people in our chat for our audio listeners. And they signed a 2-time Pro Bowler, right? Linval Joseph is sure. Not just
they could have signed Linval Joseph last April and used the 13th overall pick on somebody else.
Kyle Hamilton, who I think is going to be really good. But I think Jordan Davis is going to be good. I don't take that to be a really strong argument at this point. I think I agree Jordan Davis needs to be more of a factor as a pass rusher. But I'm not as underwhelmed by him as you are.
I mean, they were one of the 10 worst run defenses in the league the first half of the season when he was their nose tackle. So
I thought
what amazing impact was he making?
I thought the Steelers game he played well. He played well.
Okay,
And then
good. He had one game. That's fantastic.
And then he got hurt. Yeah.
Okay, but just don't tell me that he was like the key to their impressive run defense.
Never once said those words. Never once framed it that way.
You're telling me I'm making a bad argument because Linval Joseph was good, but
I'm just saying you're talking about like they signed someone off the street who was better. They signed a 2-time Pro Bowler.
Okay. They replaced him and they got better in the middle of the season. Is that not what happened?
Defense. No. Okay. All right. Let's give Jordan Davis time to breathe here.
That's fine. Well, I mean, because we know that nobody wants it more than him.
You're feisty on day one.
Like
I can only imagine what you're going to be like on Sunday afternoon, right?
We should talk about our Birds with Friends schedule for training.
Yeah, let's
our
do it.
Plan at this point is daily pods unless it's the weekend and nothing super newsworthy has happened.
Mm-hmm.
We are not going to subject Kent nor you to training camp quactus reports on the weekend unless something very newsworthy has happened. So
yes,
that's the plan for now, which means we'll have a podcast on Friday and we won't have one on Sunday unless Jordan Davis shows up just ripping people's heads off because he wants it that bad.
Or Mekhi Garner has an interception.
Okay. Anything else from practice you'd like to discuss?
There was some Nolan Smith buzz that I saw when I was on X. Are we calling it Twitter or calling it X?
Yeah, tell us more about when you were on X, Zach. I'd love to. I wish we had a camera on you. If we knew you were popping X.
So
I think you should. Yeah, you should do X at practice.
There was some Nolan Smith buzz. Look, I think Nolan Smith's gonna pop on a lot of these days. He's quick around the edge. He's a good athlete. He's someone who I don't want to give the football cliche here when the pads come on, right? I mean, I'm not gonna be that. But what you are curious to see with Nolan Smith is in those like real true pass rushing situations, how does he look there? But I'm the first one who would be bullish on Nolan Smith. I thought the Eagles were going to pick him number 10 overall, right? Before I correctly mocked the Eagles taking him in the first round.
You did not correct me. There was nothing correct about that. And that was prognostication, not forecasting, that was forecasting, not evaluation.
Well, no, I mean, I said the Eagles were going to take him in the first round. They took him in the first round. I mean, we're just
that is not fair. We do not need. This is one of
we don't need to relitigate
your most unethical arguments you've ever made.
But no, I think Nolan Smith's going to be. He has the chance. I should say to be a really good player. And
I also think that I think that your pads comment is a good one because I think his particular skill set is a little bit like DeAndre Swift. Like he should be flashing right now.
Exactly.
He should look. We should see his athleticism showing up.
Yes. I mean, if you have a 240-pound edge rusher, and on days when they're not in pads, if he's not like quick around the edge, then he's probably not. Yeah. That's what he's here for.
That's a good point. I see there's more Jordan Davis conversation in the side. I am not saying Jordan Davis is a bad player or is going to be a bad player. I'm only saying that people who are telling me he was a great run stopper last year, I disagree with. He's got a long runway and a long career ahead of him. I hope he's great. But the only thing that I'm saying is that he wasn't that good last year. That's fine. He didn't need to be. That's all.
You're feisty today, man.
I don't even feel that feisty.
You don't feel feisty? Okay.
Okay. I guess that's about.
Did you time the punters?
I didn't time it, but I mean, Aaron Sipas looked way better today.
Yes.
Here's a really in-depth analysis. Aaron Sipas's punts went higher and farther than Ty Zettner's today.
So this is an interesting boat question here. If Aaron Sipas and Tanner McKee both make the team, who needs to change their number?
Hmm.
Does Sitbos get it as the veteran, or does McKee get 10 as the quarterback?
I think
I got to think
Sipas-
McKee keeps it. Yeah.
Oh, I think Sipas keeps it because he's been on the team. I think it goes to the veteran.
No, because they changed McKee's number this year. I think they want their punter in the 40s, is my guess. I think they're going to save those because the quarterback can only be from 1 to 19, right? And the punters now can be in the 40s. There's so many numbers in the 40s that are like undesirable numbers that I think they make their punters be the 47, 48, 49 numbers.
That's so
46.
degrading.
I think 49 is going to be like the designated punter number. I could be wrong.
It's a big take by you. I feel like you're really going out on a limb. This is going to be a fun one to follow.
Fun thing to follow. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Now, longtime listeners will remember that Kent, our beloved Kent, is big movie fan, big cinephile. He's got his own movie podcast, and Zach was excited to tell
Mad
him
about movies, right?
mad about movies. That's right.
Yes.
Excited to tell him before we recorded that he went to the movies the other day. Ken would be proud of him. And, of course, everybody's swept up in Barbenheimer fever. And I was guessing that you probably went to see Oppenheimer, but I was really tickled by your reason for it, which was not like, like I've always loved these, I've always loved Christopher Nolan's movies, or like I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. You just, said candidly, I love American history.
I don't know what's wrong with that.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. So I've gone to movies with my son, but in the past, I don't know, 5 years maybe, the only movies I've seen in theaters have been with my son. Like I haven't gone. I used to go back in the day a bit like by myself, which is what I did for Oppenheimer. I went on
It's one
Sunday
of my dreams.
night.
I mean, one of my favorite things to do. Go to
9:00 showing. I went to check.
Get me to the Ritz. Get me to the Ritz at noon.
And so no, I was real curious to see. I've read books and seen documentaries on it and wanted to see it. I want to see the film, and I thought it was really well done.
Okay.
So, yeah, I recommend it. I don't know why that's funny though. It's an American history.
It's just a nice little.
It's a movie about American history.
It's not a documentary. It's a movie.
Yeah, but I'm not interested in seeing. Like, I wouldn't go on a random Sunday night to see a fictitious movie about someone who created a bomb. Okay, like this is based on a true story.
Well, yeah, but it's based. Yeah. It's not a true story.
No, but it's a form of nonfiction, right? So
is it?
Yeah, it's literally called Oppenheimer. He's not.
You don't think there are liberties taken in the movie?
Oh, of course there were liberties taken, but it's a form of. I think it's a form of nonfiction.
All right. You wouldn't dare be caught dead just seeing a regular movie.
I saw. Hold on, we're getting. We got a chat from Kent review of Florence Pugh's performance. Which one's Florence Pugh?
I haven't seen the movie yet.
Okay. I don't want to give it away. I thought all the performances were real. I thought the pace of the movie was really good. It had me on edge. So the last movie I probably saw in theaters for me was
Ken Burns' Civil War.
No, it was I saw Creed 2 in theaters. I'll probably say Creed 2.
Also, another biography.
Oh, that's not. That's a fictional character.
I mean, about just as fictional, but that's okay. What else is going on in Berm World?
Was excited to see you today. Was excited to be at training camp.
How's the book coming?
Time of year. It's coming along. I'm working hard on it. Right now, my priority.
That I know to be true.
Right now, my priority is training camp. Right. But when I have time here and there, I will. I'll be working on the book. Class is finished, and back at work now. What about you? What's
How many A's did you give out in the class?
I'm trying to think here. That's like I
And
don't want
did
to
you
give
like
away
how'd you handle
because
like
I
did you
want every
curve it
grade to
or
be in. No grading. So grading was actually the most challenging part of the course
Mm,
for me because of how subjective it was. I had a hard time differentiating between like what's an 86 compared to an 89 compared to a 93.
mm.
Like you can tell something that's really exceptional, and you can tell something that probably needs a little more work. But yeah, I really appreciated the effort, and like I probably I if they put in like the effort and they were creative and they they showed some ingenuity, I would lean toward being lenient or generous with the grades in that respect.
Now did you was it like a full curve or did you just play it
No, it
by
wasn't a curve. Yeah, there was, but there was a rubric that I loosely followed. I
okay.
didn't want to because again uh, the I I don't want to monopolize this conversation here.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So the final project was, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here. I don't think that's my course. The final project was they had to create a podcast, do a video, and
Wow.
write an article. And that leaves itself to a lot of
A
interpretation, right?
solo podcast?
Like
Or could they
a
do or they
no, it
partnered
was
up or
like a
something?
7 to 10 minute, no, solo 7 to 10 minute podcast,
Wow, that's
and then
tough.
like a 60 to 90 second video, and then
On
they
different
had to
subjects or like
write an article. Well, they had to do an interview, and they had to have a game incorporated in this because one of the modules was on game coverage. Then another
I
part of
meant
it
like a
had to
game in the
be
podcast, like they had to play Turkeys to the Kingdom.
no, so they could do so it had to incorporate interviews because we talked about interview skills. It had to incorporate game coverage because we talked about game coverage, which you so expertly provided information on, and they and it had to have analysis too, so they could split that up however they wanted. They could do a podcast on a game, they can do a video on the game, they could do the interview and the podcast and have analysis on the game. Right, it was like dealer's choice in that regard, but they had to use uh, these different elements, and I thought it was a way to kind of empower the students to choose what worked for them, but it did leave a lot of room for interpretation. That's why I was pretty loose with the rubric.
Were there do you write any Fs?
No. I appreciated all my students. They were yeah, they worked hard. They were into the class, and they were all juggling other things going on. Right, this was grad school where they have other jobs on the side. So I really appreciated them.
Okay.
What's up
I
with
feel like
you?
you're looking at
You had new kicks.
it. I mean, yeah, over since the last time you saw me in person, I have acquired one new pair of shoes.
Yeah, they look good on you. Yeah.
$25. Yeah. Big
I
update
don't
in
know
my
why you
life.
keep bringing up the price. It has they
Well,
were
you say it like I showed up in like flashy new Jordans today. Like you're just walking around
that
with
wasn't
shoes.
the suggestion at all. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where you got them. I thought they were nice. How's your tennis game going?
I haven't played in a while.
No, you're on the
Yeah.
golf course a lot this summer,
I
right?
got a few games
Yeah,
in. Got to play
yeah.
yesterday, in between some rain. Not a whole round, but I played pretty well. I was disappointed not to get to finish the game, but you know what? I'm more focused on the softball, and
Nah, how's that going?
well, it's going okay. Unfortunately we had a tie on Monday night. I mean,
A
how brutal is
tie?
that? Yeah.
How do you end in a tie? Was
Ugh.
there rain?
No, it was just like the next game had to start. When we had that we had the top of our lineup coming up in the bottom of the seventh. We couldn't get it done. Very
Hmm.
disappointing.
Shortstop? How'd you play?
Well, you know me, Zach. I was 4 for 4, but I'm beating myself up for not hitting a home run in the last inning to win the game. That's
Okay.
gotta be hard on yourself.
No, but how's your defense?
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Is
One play I wish I had made.
Is shortstop as valuable in softball? I would think I would rather be the center fielder in softball. You're probably getting a lot more pop-ups than you are grounders, aren't you?
Not only is that offensive, it's also incorrect. But
why is that offensive?
Because of course I'm going to play the most valuable position.
Yeah, so I would think
Yeah,
though
no,
in softball, center field would be more valuable.
Center field is valuable, no doubt. But I think, well, first of all, it's a shortish field.
Okay.
So they're now, and I would also say our center fielder Jake's very good.
Okay.
So we're covered there. I think it's a more rare skill set.
I'm just saying, based on the trajectory of the pitch, it's harder to hit ground balls.
What you're saying. There aren't that many more fly balls than ground balls. That is
really
not how it works out. Yeah.
Okay, that surprises me. Okay. When I play baseball, I probably hit more grounders than when I hit softballs. When I hit softballs, you have a little pop to it, right? So,
I don't really know what you're saying, but having done it, that's not accurate.
Okay.
That's okay. All right. I'm happy to be here with you again.
Yeah, you too. I haven't been ripped on enough during the past few weeks, so it's.
I don't think I was ripping on you.
It's good to be back.
I was just being offended.
It's good to be back. It humbles me, right? So.
Okay. Yeah. My understanding is Friday is going to be even lighter of a practice than it was today. It's a yellow day. Today was a green day, so
you're plugged in.
We'll see what happens, but maybe Sunday will be a fantastic practice, and we'll have no choice but to pod Sunday afternoon.
All depends on what Mekhi Garner does.
What is the actual schedule, Zach? If it's worth updating our listeners.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Because actually we are more privy to it, obviously, than the audience is. So the upcoming schedule here: the Eagles practice on Wednesday, which was today. Okay. Tomorrow's a walkthrough. Friday, they have practice. Sean Desai speaks before practice. Saturday's a day off. Then Sunday's practice. Monday is a walkthrough. Tuesday is practice. Wednesday's a day off. Thursday's practice. Friday's practice. Saturday is a walkthrough. Sunday, August 6th, is the public practice. For anyone who wants to attend, that's at Lincoln Financial Field at 7 p.m. Proceeds go to the Eagles Autism Foundation. Monday is a day off. Tuesday is a walkthrough. And so then we're back at practice Wednesday, Thursday, and all of a sudden you're at the preseason opener against the Baltimore Ravens, man. Where you can see Jordan Davis against Kyle Hamilton.
Like 5 practices before the preseason?
I think 9, I think. 1, 2,
that's wild.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 sessions. And then when they get back from the preseason game, the Cleveland Browns are in town for the highlight of the summer. Michael Dunn going up against Jalen Carter. And hopefully we see Marissa and Madison as well. And then after that game, Shane Steichen comes to town. We'll be pumped to see Bo again. And we can see Anthony Richardson and we can see James Boyd. So looking forward to that. Yeah, Gardner Minshew.
Pryor.
Is he still there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Impossible to say. Yeah. No way to look it up.
I see in the chat someone says, "Less chit chat, more about the Eagles." You're speaking my language, John.
Yeah. Guess what, John?
Where have you been the past 5 years?
Find a different show. Okay. Yeah, that's all we got. Day 1 in the books. Sloppy, but the start of a long marathon.
The practice or the pod?
Easier to only get better on day 2 if you start with a sloppy day 1. Probably both, I'd say. Here we go. For Zach and Kent and Madison and DeAndre Swift, Pro Bowl running back, I'm Bo. We will talk to you on Friday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being in the chat, except for that one guy. And as always, we love you.
Birds with friends.